everyone, this is Anne-Marie from Alma Surfside Jewelry. Thank you so much for joining me for another beading tutorial. For those of you who don't know me, I have an Etsy shop where I sell handmade surf and beach inspired jewelry, and the name of my shop is Alma Surfside, and I also have an Instagram account which is Alma Surfside 7. So be sure to check out both of those links in the description box down below. And for today's beading tutorial, I'm going to be going over a bracelet project. And for this bracelet, I've used Miyuki delicas in the center part of each component. And I've also used 50 nose seed beads at the top and bottom and on the sides as well. Okay, so this bracelet is made up of, let's see how many, 2, 4, 6, 8, a total of 8 different components. And of course, if you have a lot of Miyuki delicas on hand, you could go ahead and make a necklace. But in my case, I decided just to go with the bracelet. Okay, so this is what it looks like on my wrist, and you'll notice that with some of the components I've used light colors on the outside, followed by a darker color with 3 white columns in the center, back to the darker color and then the lighter color. And I've alternated, so this one does the opposite. Dark colors on the outside, light color on the inside with the 3 white columns. Okay, so I've done that all the way down the bracelet, and that's something that you might want to think about as you're working on yours. And in terms of beading supplies, what you're going to need for today is fire line, and I always use 6 pound or 0.006 fire line, and the color is crystal, and this one happens to be from the Berkeley brand. So in terms of the Miyuki delicas that I have there on my mat, you'll notice that those are different colors than what I've used in the original piece. And unfortunately, I don't have the original vials for the delicas that I've used here. But if you want to copy this one, you're going to look for a dark turquoise as well as a mint green. Okay. And then the white that I've used in this piece, I do have the original vial for that one. And this one is matte white. And again, a Miyuki Delica 11-0. And for the new piece that I'll be creating today, I've picked 2 colors that are complementary. Okay, so that's what you want to keep in mind if you want to create this exact look. So I've chosen a purple and a pink that are very close in tone. And of course, I'll be using white in the center part of the design. So I'm using the same vial here, so matte white, okay? And in the 4th pile there on my mat on the far right-hand side are 50 no Toho seed beads. And these are in galvanized silver, and they sometimes go by the name of aluminum, okay? And that just creates the fringe there on the outside of the design. And you'll also need a lobster claw, okay, in order to finish off your bracelet or necklace, whatever it is that you're making today. And you'll also need some jump rings. And in this case, I'm using stainless steel jump rings to match the tone of the beads that I'm using here in the piece. And you'll also need a beading needle attached to your fire line. You can start with an arm's length worth of thread to begin. And it's also helpful to have flat nose pliers to work with the jump rings and the lobster claw at the very end of the project. And you'll need a pair of scissors to be able to cut your fire line as you're working. Okay, so go ahead and gather all of your materials and let's get started. Okay, so to get started on my first component, I'm going to go ahead and pick up 3 of my purple Miyuki delicas. Okay, and push those down on my needle and then down on my thread. And for this project, you don't need much of a tail, so I would say leave yourself about an inch, inch and a half. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and pick up 3 more of the same color. Okay, so a total of 6 in the same color, and you're going to go up the previous column. Okay, so we're working with 3 beads at a time. And my thread is coming out of the top, so I'm going to insert my needle from the bottom up. And go ahead and pull on your thread. Okay, so now you have the 2 columns sitting side by side, and don't worry about the fact that this one's not sitting flush yet. We're going to correct that. And to create the outside loop, we're going to use a total of 5 50 O's in galvanized silver. So go ahead and pick up 5. There we go, 5 beads there on my needle. And I'm going to go through the opposite side of this column here. Okay, so where my thread is coming out, and pull on your needle. Okay, so that just creates the outer rim for our entire piece. And to make it a little bit stronger, I'm going to reinforce that by going through all of the beads that I just added on. So all of the silver beads. And then I'm going to go back through the purple column that's on the left-hand side, this one right here. Okay, so that's what you want to have at this point. So we're just creating a ladder stitch by going from left to right. And I'm going to reinforce the next column, the one on the right, by going down all 3 beads. And then going back up the previous column, this one here. Okay, so you'll notice that they're sitting side by side a lot better this time. And you're going to go down the one on the right again. Okay, now we're going to switch up the color. So what I've done is 2 dark rows, and now I'm going to come in with a light pink. So go ahead and pick up 3 of your pink delicas. And our thread is coming out of the bottom. So I'm going to insert my needle into the top of that second row and pull on my thread. Okay, so we have 3 rows now, and again, to reinforce it, I'm going to go up the pink column and back down the previous column, this one here, and back up again. Okay. Okay, so for the next 3 rows, we're going to be using white Miyuki delicas, so I'm going to pick up 3 more. And I'm going to go through the opposite side. So my thread's coming out of the top. I'm inserting my needle through the bottom. And pull on your thread. Go down the white column. And back up the pink column. This one here. Okay, and we're going to just continue on doing the same thing. Okay, and remember we're doing 3 in the center, so I'm picking up 3 more of my white delicas and going down the previous column, back up the new column, down the previous one. Okay, so that just helps reinforce it when I do that a couple of times. Again, picking up 3 more white beads. And I'm going to go up this row here. Okay, down the next row. And back up the previous row. Okay, so that's what the piece looks like so far, and I'm going to go back down the right column. And now for the pattern, we're just going to repeat what we did on the other side. So I'm going to pick up 3 of my light pink delicas. And I'm going to go down the previous column. Okay, straighten the other one out by going back up. And so on. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we only have 2 more rows to go. So I'm going to go back up the column on the right. Make sure everything is pulled nice and tight so that the beads sit snugly together. and pick up 3 more of my purple. Okay, going up the previous column, down the next one, back up the previous one, and down the outside one. Okay, one more row to go. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward, I hope. And that'll finish off this component. Okay, so 3 more purple beads. Okay, and just like we did on the other side, we're going to create the silver loop that's going to be a connector on the outside of this component. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up a total of 5 50-0s in galvanized silver. There we go. And I'm going to go up the previous column, this one right here. Okay, and then you can reinforce that outside connector by going through all of the beads that you just added on. And you can go back up through the purple column sitting right there. Okay. Now, at this point, we're just going to finish the outside trim here. So I'm coming out up here on the left-hand side, and I'm going to pick up one of my 50-0s in silver. Tiny little bead there. And you'll notice that all along the ladder stitch, there are different bridges, right? Connecting all of them together. So I'm going to go under the very first bridge here, the one on the far left. So that's the thread there that's connecting the 2 columns. Pull my needle through, and then I'm going to go back up the seed bead sitting there on top, okay? So you're going to want to pull on that nice and tight so that it's sitting upright. And we're going to do that all the way down the top row here. Okay, so again, I picked up another 50-0. I'm going to go down the next bridge. Okay, so this one here, the second one, pull my thread through and go back up the 50-0 that's sitting there on top. There we go. Okay, so that's how it sits there on the outside of your piece. And we're going to do that all the way down until we don't have any more bridges to go through. Okay, so let's do that one last time. And then you can continue doing the same thing on your own. Okay, so again through the bridge and then back up through that small 50-0. There we go. Okay, so that's the trim that's going to sit on the outside of our component. I went through it 3 times with you here on camera, and I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of that row off camera, and I'll meet you on the other side. Okay, so at this point you should have a total of 8 50-0s at the very top of your first component. And then before we proceed, I just wanted to mention that the little tail that you have here, the 1-inch tail coming out of the right side, to tie that off, all you have to do is go through the inside of that loop that we created, okay, and create a knot. Okay, so you can do that a couple of times if you want. So again, just doing 1 knot here and going through the inside again and creating a second knot. There we go. Okay, and to make it easier for yourself, you can go ahead after you've finished both knots and cut off the extra thread there and set that tail aside. Okay, and so we are coming out here, okay, at the top of our silver bead. And what we're going to do is just go down that purple column sitting there on the outside. So this one here. And we're going to pull over to the other side of our component. Okay, and we're going to do the exact same thing on this side, right? So you're going to go ahead and pick up a 15-0 and go under the first bridge and go back up the 15-0 and pull tight. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same thing all the way down all of these rows. So you're going to do that a total of 8 times. And then I'll show you how to attach each component. Okay, so let me finish this piece off camera and then we'll continue. Okay, so you can see that I've reached the end of the row there with a total of 8 15-0s in silver. And to tie it off, I can just go down the purple column there on the far right hand side. So this one here. And I can just do a knot by going on the inside of this silver loop and going through there. And I can cut off the extra thread at this point. So I'm going to cut as closely as possible. Okay, so then now that I've cut off the excess thread, I can set aside my needle and the fire line. And I have my original piece here, so I'm just going to show you how I connected them. So it's very simple. I just have a bunch of jump rings and I use my flat nose pliers to open them up. Okay, and I only use one jump ring to join 2 pieces. Okay, so I'm going to join it to this component here and insert the jump ring through the other one as well. Okay, so that they're both attached. And then all I have to do is close up the jump ring. There we go. Okay. So that's what creates the link in between each component. And of course, this is a different color, so I'll be doing that with 2 of the purple and pink tones. But anyways, you get the idea. Okay, 1 jump ring to attach 2 different components. So what you do when you finish the entire length of your bracelet or necklace is the closure. And in this case, it's pretty simple because you already have the final loop created, okay, as part of each component. So you just take a jump ring and a lobster claw and you insert it through the semicircle there at the end of your component, okay, and then close it back up. And then on the other side, you're going to take 1 jump ring, open it up, and insert it through the other semicircle. There we go. And so that's what creates your final closure. You can open up the lobster clasp and go through the jump ring on the other side. Okay, and that's how it attaches. Okay, so anyways, when you're doing your piece, one last reminder that if you want to copy my design, you're going to alternate the dark colors with the light colors in each component, right? So this one here on the left, I started off with 2 dark columns, whereas the next component, I started off with 2 light columns. Okay, so that's the only difference between the 2. And of course, you can play around with different color combinations and patterns. I think that would make it really interesting as well. So anyways, I hope that you really enjoyed making this very simple but colorful beaded bracelet today using 2 very easy techniques, the ladder stitch and the brick stitch. I like it when I can combine 2 different stitches to make something unique. So I hope that you enjoy adding this to your jewelry collection. Okay, so that concludes our beading tutorial for today. And before you go, please take a minute to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And be sure to use the Amazon affiliate links in the description box down below if you need any supplies at all. I always go over, you know, what's available on Amazon and include a link if possible. I know that they don't carry everything, but when it's there, I like to include it, especially for my international audience. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay, take care. Bye for now.